Am I audible at the back? This is the first time I will be performing in Bangalore. And I wrote this poem a few months ago, and usually we perceive home as something we love, where we want to go, where we always want to return. But in my personal experience, I have tried to write down a poem about my perception about my home. It is titled as I'm Writing Parables Tonight. Stop where you are. The tick-tock of the old clock in my room isn't something I am afraid of. I'm afraid of the seemingly large water balloons filled with tight air cushion. Helium can lead to death. I don't want to name my father after a gas found on the sun first, the earth later. When I talk about gases, I don't have oxygen in my list for a reason. Oxygen is a metaphor that you didn't choose to be born. Oxygen is the reason we are alive. Before we can say we need love to survive, some hugs to stay quiet in our lover's arm. I am talking about methods of survival today. One, I put on my ear mask whenever I enter my home. My father is not afraid of adultery, but I am afraid of his genes inside me, so that whenever I turn 40, I want to make sure I don't end up marrying someone whom I cannot love. He is loved often. When my mother says not to disturb him when he's sleeping, she isn't talking about someone who practices the art of sewing her body parts together after performing C-section surgeries on her bodies. She's talking about my father at that time, still hiding love in her bosom, still thinking helium can lead to unreturned loves. I'm talking about parables tonight without any moral lessons. I am naming my father after a gas. He is needed in my life, only like a balloon which I can tie to my hair someday so that if it floats, some strands of air float along with it. I know drinking feels just like that. Touch. You float. With just your head swinging around, defying gravity. Existence of bodies can be weightless too. Knock. You fall back hard on the floor you thought was floating with. You crash. The walls don't crash when earthquakes arrive, when you inhale them like an oxygen absorber. The day you think this game is up, my turn is getting over. Show me where I need to return after my death. I will find a place where there are no people. If this can be the cure of my parables, if hopes need a cure, I will find one. But if home needs a family, I will run back to the place where I was before I was born. Womb doesn't need a family. Womb is all dark. Womb is a place where I can care not to paint the skin with my poems. There is nothing in it that was not already out there, but existence became a word only outside of it. My emotions don't need a father who is just an addition to what I call jihad. He never dies alone. He dies planting bombs on the skin of my mother and me. Explode, crash, knock, touch, touch. I will tell you, wounds are no longer the places where it hurts. Breathing does. Breathing is not a war. Breathing is not an art. Breathing is not necessary. Breathing is a luggage carrying the body in it. I want to wrap my clothes around it and go on a holiday somewhere, a place full of suns. No helium, no oxygen. You don't live and then die there. You die and then live one day. You die and you breathe one breath less each second. You don't start the beginning there. You live the end first. The old bones rattling inside you to make a noise that you don't want to hear, so that the last part can always be a good one. You are in your mother's womb when you're 80. There are no gases, there are no humans. Caution, there's no caution to give where the intellect hasn't been formed out of the seeds of revolt-forming theories for later generation. Where there is no one whom I can call my father. Where there is no one whom I can call my father, and my parables were written at the point where half-lived life already wishes for death to come. I would then be old enough to know the meaning of word separation that can't be spoken without pauses, like separation. And not at the age of 5 when I cried under blankets. I saw this world too early, naked, dancing on the streets like a mad woman, blowing horns and trumpets, begging for cures, crying for help. Insanity is a cure itself for sanity. I call for help like some refugees in my own body. Where do I write my parables? Ink the sheet, don't wipe off the spot. Scribble words, scribble lines, scribble metaphors, scribble art, scribble poetry. Where can I unerase my parables tonight? I'm talking about methods of survival today too. Don't scribble inside my mind. It is already dirty. It is already like some words hanging out of my mouth, slipping on my tongue, running on the pages, burning alive, surviving alone, apologetically tragedies, unapologetically mine. Bring the bridges down to the streets today. Tell them it is their turn to stop bridging the gap between us and to stop bridging the unfold disasters in someone's life. I imagine bridges like them to be people I have met in my life. Unapologetically love. Apologetically mine to love. I will write today about those parables which mothers are afraid to pass on to their children, who are raised like sleep is a cheap drug. Dreams are expensive. Dreams are like calories waiting to be reduced. Dreaming from one eye is an art I excel. Let's start dreading what you dream at night, and sleep will no longer be the cheap drug you will want to have. It is after midnight. It is after midnight when I listen to the old clock given to my mother by her old friend. Don't stop where you are. Maybe from moving, you're making circles around you inside someone who doesn't want to build straight lines anymore. Circles made when two parallel lines decide to meet. Caution. Oxygen can be lethal when you don't want to live. I'm writing a parable about how to survive where there is only vacuum. 3. Draw half button on the sleeves of your shirt. Someone will draw the other half and give it back to you. No one is entrusted to love you in a way to complete you. Humans hate to see things incomplete. And I'm not completing this parable tonight. What's your parable to write after this? Thank you.